But just before I do hand over to them, I just want to say a little bit about what Film Academy Southwest does, what other stuff we've got coming up and things, and where you can keep up with all that we're doing. So we run events like this, as well as having opportunities and courses for young people in the southwest of England throughout the year to get involved with making film, talking about film, and just doing filmy things. So we'll put the link to our website in the comments in just a second, as well as our social media, so you can keep up with what we've got coming up, as well as go back and watch some of our past events, which you can find on YouTube. That's almost it from me. The only other thing I want to say is that there is some time for a Q&A with Sophie and Grace today. So if you've got any questions either now or anything comes up as you're watching, please do pop it in the comments and there'll be time for that at the end. So that's it from me. I'm now going to hand over to Sophie and Grace to take it away.
Hi, and I'm just so excited to be talking to Sophie today. I just want to thank BFI Academy and also Somerset for this opportunity. And before I hand over, I'm just going to do a little intro about myself. So I'm a disabled actress and filmmaker. I'm part of the BFI alumni of 2021. I'm currently in my first year of university in Bristol, which is really fun. I'm really enjoying the course. It's going really well. I started making films when I was going through a really tough time at school. I was in between moving schools and I started editing and script writing, and it just went from there. So now I'm actually, making films. I've just made a film over summer called On My Level. That was a really fun experience. And then I'm writing another one right now, which is hopefully going to get made next summer, called Have a Good Day. And it's just about a young autistic girl navigating school. So yeah, and filmmaking is such a passion of mine, so it's just so great to be here today talking to Sophie. So Sophie, if you don't mind, I'll hand over to you now to do an intro.
Oh, hi. I'm very excited to be talking to you as well, so that's a nice thing. Yeah, my name is Sophie Littman. I'm a filmmaker with a background in fine art. I've made 2 short films called Sudden Light and Know the Grass, and I'm just about to start on my feature. So that's me.
Okay, great. So got a few questions here today to kind of just have a little conversation about. Yeah, so I'll start off with the first one. So how did you start making films?
So I studied fine art, and I guess at that point, whilst I was at art college, I started to make these video installations that were kind of multi-channel story puzzles, and then those gradually became more and more narrative and single channel, and I started to learn more about cinema whilst I was studying, and then things just grew from there, really. So these things just started to morph into more narrative film. Yeah, at that point.
Oh, great. I love finding out how people got into making films and stuff. It's just so interesting.
It's so different. I feel like that's the thing I can remember feeling really when I was younger, and I sort of there's no clear path. There are so many different ways, and I think that all those different avenues can influence the work that you make in a really interesting, I don't know, it's nice I'm working with different people who come from all sorts of different sort of backgrounds. And yeah, that was a ramble, sorry.
So when did you first realize that you wanted to write and direct?
I don't think there was a very clear exact point. I just knew that I always wanted to be making work. So I always wanted to make things, and those things started to become small videos, and then those small videos started to become films and scripts and crude sets. And so yeah, then it gradually snowballed. But I guess I was sort of, I did have a moment when I was starting out where I realized that I was a bit of a control freak with every single element of the things that I was trying to make. And that made me realize that I sort of had to stick in the directing role, maybe, because I just felt too closely attached to every single element. I couldn't imagine letting one of them go. So maybe at that point, yeah.
I mean, like, for me, I started writing long before I was directing. So also because I act, I was sometimes just try out different things with some of the scripts that I wrote. It was only like really short little ones, but yeah, I do love writing as well, and I wrote both of my short films. But like you, I think directing what you write, you're kind of just directing your passion, what you wrote.
I think it's like, I mean, we were speaking a little bit about this before, but being on the acting side of it as well, it gives you a whole other understanding of that flip side. Because you sort of, do you think about the acting then whilst you're writing, about how it would feel to play these roles, or how does the acting influence when you write, actually?
It's quite interesting because I mean, when I was writing these films, I knew that I did not want to act in it, because in all of I've made a few like virtual short films in the past that I've acted in. So I knew that for these two, I definitely did not want to act. So I was writing it with that mindset. But my previous virtual short films, I was basically writing myself into the character. So I always kind of kept that in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the two that I've got, I'm doing now, yeah, it wasn't really in my mind because I was constantly thinking of other people. Yeah, it's really interesting.
It's so interesting. I think it's such an amazing strength, because I just feel like it gives you access to a whole other, even if it's not for yourself. I don't know. It makes you more open and aware to sort of the actor's experience of something, or the avenues that something could go in, because you understand. I don't know. I'm not sure. I think it's a really interesting, amazing skill to have, to be able to see it from that lens. Because I think we spoke a little bit about this before as well, like almost putting on like your writing hat and your directing hat. And I guess it's another hat that you can put on, even if it's not you in itself, but it's looking at it through a different lens again, the material. So it's interesting.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like understanding when I'm directing, I'm constantly thinking, how are the actors feeling? And like, do they want to go for another take? Because as an actor, it can be quite stressful when, you've done a take, maybe you don't feel like you've done your best work and you have to move on. So as a director, I do try to make sure the actors are happy with everything. And I think you mentioned that as well in our like article interview, just making sure the actors are comfortable.
Yeah, I was thinking about that actually after we spoke about it. I was thinking sort of one of the things you asked me about, like directing, and I was thinking about what directing sort of means, because it's something that you don't really hadn't thought about it like that before, and I was thinking about it being almost like making sure that each cog is given enough oil for it to like work properly, and like that includes the actors as well, and like just making sure that everyone can be their best selves, and so that oil can be like the right creative conversations, and making sure that we're all on the same page with the HODs, or making sure that everyone is in their best headspace to create their best work, and that all your notes are on point, but also just making sure that the actors have enough oil to keep going, and making sure they're comfortable and they have got everything that they need in terms of like the creative resources, like the conversations and understanding the material, but also that they feel comfortable and looked after and respected. Yeah, I was thinking about it a lot after, because it was interesting, because it's not that often that I think about what actually is directing.
Yeah, and okay, great. So the next question is, you might have had this quite a few times, I don't know. What other directors have inspired you?
So I mean, I really love directors that work and play with dreamy spaces and the surreal and memory. So I love Alan Rene, Peter Pong, We're Aesthetical. of course, Tarkovsky and David Lynch, and Alice Rohrwacher. That's quite like a long, I could just list this forever. I could just keep going and keep going. But I think anyone that plays with that slightly in between world between dream and reality is just like amazing.
Oh, great. I like you. What was that?
Oh, sorry. What about you? Who are the directors that you love?
So I'd say for me, I worked with the director, I think in 2019, well, that's a long time ago, Victoria Harwood Kapadia. I acted in a short film that she was doing at the time. That was really fun. And yeah, she was just lovely. And it was my first time working with a director in kind of like a professional setting. And this is the film that went on to the Cannes Short Film Corner, which was amazing. I totally didn't expect that. So that was really cool. And also another young director, I think she's about my age, is Ella Greenwood. Yeah, so she's made quite a few short films lately. And I just really love her work so far. Like I've seen bits and pieces and trailers and stuff. And I'm actually going to go to one of her screenings, I think, next week.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I get to meet her. But yeah, those are two that's really inspired me.
Cool. It's nice to have people that you're actually like working with as well to see how they work. Yeah,
definitely. And like, because it was the first time working with a director, you know, I've been in this industry or known bits about it for quite a long time. So to then, you know, get to work with a director, it was just interesting to me, so interesting, and such a good experience as well.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, have you got any other inspirations, maybe not directing, just in the industry, maybe?
Maybe not necessarily in the industry. I mean, books. So yeah, Murakami books massively. Ben Lerner's books. I'm trying to think of Raymond Carver. I don't know. Yeah, lots of writing. And a lot of music. I listen to a lot of music, and sound often is where things begin and end for me. Like I find that soundscapes and particular, like for example, I've been writing something and then I've been really struggling all day with this particular point, and then I went to this concert that someone I knew was playing, and just listening to her play, I figured out the whole beginning chunk of this film. So yeah, I think there are lots of different things.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does directing mean to you?
So I think it's sort of like that whole cogs in the machine all having enough oil and making sure that everything is working cohesively and that everything is staying really true to the thing that you want to create, and that you love. And just making sure that everyone is in the best place to create that work and to create this thing that you love. And that can take so many different shapes and forms. And it's just sort of, whether it's making sure that people are happy, whether it's making sure that all the notes are perfect, whether it's just making sure that everyone has all that material. But I also think it's just, having complete, like, ensuring that every single aspect is sticking true to this idea that you've had. But also it's massively just it's so much of it is getting to work with really talented people to create this thing, which I think is such a luxury, and I don't know, I really treasure it. So I think that. Sorry, there's so many different answers in one, but
no, that's great, thank you. So what is your favorite thing about directing? Is there any little aspect that you like of it? Or
I think working and being part of this organism is a really cool thing. And so when it's all running really smoothly and everyone is like on fire, and you just feel like you're stood behind the monitor, and this thing that you've dreamt of, you can see unfolding in front of your eyes, but is even better than you could have imagined, because you couldn't have imagined all the other incredible work that people would bring to it. And then you can see exactly where it would fit in the edit. I think that's wonderful. I think after coming off set, I don't know, I'm always on such a massive high. And then also, I think that, I don't know, I love sitting in a sound mix. I think a sound mix for me is so exciting, because sort of sound and music is where, yeah, everything almost begins, and then it's also the last bit where you're hearing this final polish on everything. And like, you can watch everything back and see all these different component parts. All these different component parts coming together to make a whole. And yeah, I think that's really cool when you just see everything that you've tried to do come together. I don't know, it's a nice moment. But
yeah, I definitely understand, like, coming off on such a high, like you've just been working for like what, 4 or 5 days straight, and then you're all this energy going into it. It just feels so good.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's so all-consuming, right? Like, I feel like in prep, like, all I can think about, and I always have like a really bad habit of shooting just before Christmas, and so then I go back and I'm with my mum, and I'm like, it's all I can talk about and all I can think about, and like sometimes not necessarily a positive way. I don't know whether you feel like this, but I find that always immediately after finishing, I'm like so high and so like happy and excited, but then I'm also totally consumed by all the things I feel like I didn't get. And so I'm just sitting there and I'm waiting for the rushes to come back from the lab, and I'm like, just be sitting there watching TV with my mum and my sisters, and just suddenly like, oh my God, why did I not do this? And my mum puts like a straight ban on me. She's like, can we have one day where you don't talk about the film, please? Because it is really just all consuming. So I think, and yeah, which is the best and the worst thing. But it's just so incredible to have the opportunity to be consumed by something that you love, I think, and to get to do it.
Yeah, definitely, because like I understand how being consumed thing, because I came off my film in summer and my parents basically banned me from working on anything from the film for about a week because I needed to shut down.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
totally. Like, oh, sorry.
No, you go.
No, I don't know any other adrenaline. Like, I very much like just don't sleep or eat that during the whole shoot. Not because I don't want, like, I want to, but it's just I can't think. I'm just so fixated on it.
Yeah,
I feel love, man. I don't know.
I mean, for me, like I was saying, was it Friday that we talked?
Yeah, that's Friday.
You know, I really enjoy just talking to people on set and like making connections, because, you know, before I filmed this film I did over summer, I really didn't really talk to many people because, you know, I used to have selective mutism, and some of that kind of still hangs about now. But yeah, I definitely think when I was on set for this and talking to people, it really did boost my confidence. So, and maybe it's that bit of control you get as a director. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's like everyone does have that bit of respect for you, which is really nice.
Yeah, I think it is. It's really nice, and it's also nice to make sure, I don't know, I think when sets are really respectful place, I think it should go both ways with respect on set. I think everyone should be like, every team member should be listened to and appreciated, and because everyone is coming together to make this thing that's come from your mind a reality, and like that's not to be taken for granted. And I think when it's working smoothly and everyone is appreciating, they appreciate you, like you feel it. It's like a nice, a set should be like a place full of like love. I think sounds really cheesy, but I think it really should be a space where it's harmonious, because it also then that helps you fight the battles of when there are all these things that are out of your control, like technical issues or the weather, or like, I mean, all the a million things that can and do go wrong when you're filming. If you're one sort of harmonious unit, you can come together and problem solve together, and you're all fighting in one charge, I guess.
Yeah.
You don't want to be disjointed or have like different, I don't know. You need to be able to be, you're going into battle with this team of people, I think. So you want these people to be your comrades. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So question number 6. You have managed to cast some amazing actors in your films. For example, Conrad Khan and India Fowler in Know the Grass. How did you cast your films, and like what was the process like? So did you do like self-tape auditions or in person?
Well, with Know the Grass, with India and Conrad, it was well, with India, there was a round of self-tapes because it was COVID, and then we did an in-person audition. But then with bigger names like Conrad, and also this was the case with Esme Creed Miles and Sam Sproul in Sudden Light, we approached them with an offer because they're bigger names. And in that case, it's very much sort of about making sure, I don't know, or just like watching as much of the actors' previous work as possible and seeing if they've got this thing, what are they going to bring to the role? And so, for example, like with Conrad, the character that he was playing, we thought he would be such a perfect fit because the character who he was playing had the potential to be quite a straightforward antagonist. And we thought it would be so much more interesting for like the tension and the sort of tables turning that we wanted to, or table turn that we wanted to happen towards the end of the film, if he was more a role that he was an antagonist, who's this guy who doesn't believe his sister, but then you start to empathize with him and you feel the weight that he's carrying and the burden he's carrying, and so you start to be a little bit on his side. And then I was watching all of Conrad's work and I was like, wow, this guy has just so much insane emotional depth, just even when he's silent, and you just want to root for him. And I was like, how interesting would it be with him as that character? Because then the audience will start to side with him, and then that can be a strange dynamic of power. So and then you approach the actor and you sort of basically explain. Well, I don't know, I'm sorry, I'm explaining stuff. But like, in this case, we sort of you had listed out all the reasons that I thought Conrad would be amazing for the role, and met up with him, and then the rest is history. So yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant, because I kind of know all about the self-tape and the auditioning side of things. So to hear approaching that is really, really interesting. I mean, have you got any actors that you would just love to work with in the future?
Oh yeah, like loads, but I can't say that. I feel like that they're too big a names and I don't want to like jinx it.
Yeah.
But like quite a very long list. So yeah.
Oh, brilliant. I mean, I've got a few, but again, I don't want to say anything. But yeah, it's always good to have in the back of your mind a few people who you want to work with. So I
think it's a cool thing. One of my friends asked it to me at the beginning of this year, and I hadn't, and she had like a big list, and it hadn't been something that I mean, obviously it had been in the very back of my head, but it made me think about it a lot more after she asked. I think it's really fun. I mean, I'd always just had like, as in people that I was like, oh, they're amazing, but it's cool to think of people actually in
definitely
you're carving out. So, yeah.
So how did your short film Near the Grass come about, and what was it like to direct? Is it horror or a thriller?
I don't know if it's a horror. Yeah, it's like a psychological drama, a psychological thriller, maybe. I don't know. Horror thriller. So after I made my first short, Sudden Light, and after I'd finished it, I really wanted to create something that took this sort of dreamy eeriness that I felt like I'd managed to get into Sudden Light and harness it onto a more narrative story. Oh, sorry.
I think that was mine.
No, it could definitely be me. Yeah, and harness it onto like a more narrative story, and to see how that would go. So it was like an exercise in tension, and yeah, just trying to do that. And then I was like drawing from some experience and marrying that with this thing that I wanted to achieve and merging the two together. And then the horror aspect. I don't know, because I don't think that I ever really think, it's not at the forefront of my mind. I never think, almost in that same way that you struggled to define it just then, I don't think it is an outright horror. So it's not like I go into it when I'm making it, it's not like I go into every decision thinking, this is the most horror, this would be perfect for this, but I just know that I want it to be an incredibly tense atmosphere, and I know I want it to be eerie, and I know how I want the audience to feel when watching it. And so I guess that influences my decision. And if that is, so everything is trying to work towards this feeling that I want to create, this sort of unsettled, destabilized feeling. And then there were a couple of elements in this film actually though that are purposefully jumpy, and those I had to create lots. I was quite scared about doing those because I made loads of tests and mini edits with my footage from my phone and getting my mum to be a standard to make sure it would work. So I was so scared that it wouldn't land. I hear people like jumping when they watch it, but I'm still, every time someone's watching, I'm like, please have a jumping moment. But yeah, don't know. Do you think about genre much when you're making work?
Well, I haven't really experimented much with genre. I'm very much drama based. I like drama genre. I've kind of written a bit of comedy for a project we're doing at uni. I think it was dark comedy, and I found that really fun. So I would love to kind of explore that a bit more.
I think it's an interesting place to be making work, I think.
Yeah. Definitely. And you mentioned that both your films, Near the Grass and Southern Light, have this dreamlike qualities. So where did you get like the inspiration for all of this, like having that kind of element in it?
Well, I hope they have dreamlike qualities. I don't want to be the person who claims that they do. I don't know. It's always been, I think I've just always, it goes right. I've always wanted to make work like that. Ever since I was in art college, it was always that same feeling that I was trying to create, which is this destabilizing. And I guess that's the stuff that I like. That's how I like to feel when I'm watching things. I get really excited at moments where you think you know what's going on, and then I don't know. I'm just thinking of recently I saw a film, Memoria, and there was one moment, I won't say in case it's wasn't, but I was watching with my friend, and thank God she didn't mind this either, but there's one moment, and it's a subtle turn where you think you have a footing of what's happening, and then in just one swift, like, deft moment, it's like it cuts through, and you're taken into a more supernatural world in just one really, really subtle move. And like it's like one line of dialogue, and it's like, and I actually, this is the moment I'm talking about with my friend, that thank God she didn't mind, because I grabbed her leg in the cinema. I was just like, I was just so excited by it. Like, just, And she also felt like that, so it was okay. But I think those are the things, that's how I like to feel when I'm watching things. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, like when I'm watching David Lynch films, that's the stuff, that's how exactly how I like to feel when watching stuff. So when you can't quite get a grasp on what's really going on, but you're terrified, or yeah, when you're just destabilized and unnerved a little bit, or unsettled, and it's playing into this dreamy realm. And so I think, yeah, that's always been the stuff that I've been into, and so it naturally would follow. See, that's the sort of stuff that I want to make.
Yeah,
I can, if I can ever be as good as those people. Oh, this is such a massive thing, ridiculous statement for me to have said. If I can ever be them. But, yeah.
Okay. So can you talk a bit about Southern Light and your experience working on your first? Was it your first scripted short?
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's exactly exactly right. Well, I mean, I have had script, as in I'd done things before, but it was a written voiceover script. It was my first proper, like, yeah. Or I would call it a narrative short, but other people maybe don't call it that. Yeah, it was great. It was a real baptism of fire. I learned a lot, and because I really didn't know. I was thinking about this quite recently, where I think that like directing or making films is almost, it's kind of like driving a car in terms of learning how to drive. So you can be a passenger so however many times, and through being a passenger you can learn loads, and you can see exactly what kind of driver you would like to be, and you can take note of all these things, but not until you're actually in the driver's seat do you feel how to move the clutch and know when to, do you really instinctively know, you can't anticipate. How are you supposed to learn? How can you learn things that you can't anticipate before you're actually in that moment? So I think I learned so much on that short, and it was amazing. We had a really brilliant crew, and I think it was such a lovely thing, because it was everything, because it was my first thing, it was everything that I had loved up until that point put into a film, and it was a really gratifying experience. I mean, it was also really tough. We had no time. We shot on like the shortest days of the year, and we had next to no film stock, and we were in really muddy fields, and it was really cold. It was almost this time of the year. It was like 2 weeks later than this, was like mid-December, which when you're outside for a completely outdoors shoot, it's quite tricky. But yeah, no, we were really lucky with the weather. Actually, it was freezing, but it did not rain. And then the day after we wrapped, it rained so hard, and we had no fail safe. We had no, like, if it had rained one day, every single scene was outdoors, and we had no.
Oh no.
We had no other option. We had no backup plan. Which is great planning, obviously. So yeah, no, it was great.
I've seen the trailer for Southern Light. It looks amazing, but yeah, it looks like it was really cold.
It was really cold. It was so cold, and at least, but it wasn't wet. It was muddy at points, though. It was really muddy. There were points where we were all carrying the kit like across all these fields. But yeah, that was good.
So what makes you want to tell the stories that you put across in your films?
I'm not sure. I think it probably going back to that feel, like what I like to see, like that feeling that I like to feel. So I think it's almost going back to like those feelings I really like. But then I also I realized this recently, actually, because I've always been thinking how I really like to feel this certain way when watching stuff, and that's the stuff that excites me. And then I saw a film when I was back. I was at LFF, and I saw this film. It was a really beautiful film called The Worst Person in the World. Everyone should go see it. And I went to see it with my friend, and I didn't know what to expect, and I wasn't necessarily watching it. You know, sometimes I don't know whether you feel like this, but sometimes I feel like I'm watching stuff because it feels really relevant to the work that I want to make. Whereas this film is, I was really excited to see it, and I love working in Tria's work, but like it feels quite separate to the stuff that I want to make. So it felt like a bit of a treat. I was going to watch it on a Saturday morning. I was quite hungover, and I wept so hard. I cried so hard, and afterwards I came out and I realized how important actually I did feel it was that I had films that made people feel something, and not just this unsettling thing, but I actually want to. It made me realize how much I want to make films that move people, that talk to like a human experience. And it was quite a sort of good reminder whilst I'm writing something to be like, no, actually this is really important to me. I really want to I like being scared and unnerved and stuff, but I also like crying. So yeah, I think if that sort of semi answers that question.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I definitely think, you know, it's great to have the aim to make the audience feel something, you know, whether that be happiness or sadness, but like definitely to make the film have some kind of message. Like for me, the film that I'm writing right now is about a young autistic girl, you know, navigating isolation and loneliness at school, and just how brutal it was. And you know that there are some quite hard truths in that, and I just hope that it educates people and makes them and moves them. But yeah, so I just think having a message and having feeling in a film is so important.
Totally. Yeah, it's also, you want it to be, it's got to be full of feeling.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's just spectacle.
So this is the question that I can't wait to ask. So are you more drawn to shooting on a film over digital?
I always feel really bad answering this question because I don't know why I said it like that. I always get asked this question. No, I mean, but like I always feel a bit bad because I just really adore film, and so for me, yeah, it is just always film, no question. But then I know that can sound like such a purist. I don't know. I know how that can sound as well, so I acknowledge that. But yeah, I'm just always drawn to shooting on film, and it really allows me to work in the way that I like to work, I think, because it has, I need to think of a new word for dream because I've said it like a million times, but it has this like dream-like quality. And also I think it leaves space for like these accidents to happen that can be perfect and can just be so exciting. And so when I'm looking through the rushes and I see like something, sometimes I don't know, I feel like, I don't know, it makes me feel a little bit something supernatural is going on, where I'm like, the film is working with me, where there'll be like a film burn, or the film will cut in camera at a particular point and something will crop up that will just be so thematically perfect and like perfect for the edit. And I don't know, I think that's just like the most exciting space that you can, allowing stuff like that to happen. And like it's done me over. It's done a number on me. Like each film that I've shot, something has gone wrong in quite a bad way. So yeah, for both of my films, I had this situation where we had a bird's nest within the film, and my favorite take in Sudden Light of like the most important scene was like scratched, and we had to slice out half, and it was a one take thing, and we had to slice out a chunk in the middle. And then in Know the Grass, it was like also quite an integral scene. It was the actors like best take, and it was all scratched up and we couldn't use it. And that is like a heartbreaking thing. And also the
Yeah.
tension. Oh my God, the tension of when you're like sending this film to the lab and you don't know which moment is going to get the snip and which moment is going to be the moment that's messed up. That is just like the most awful wait. And like being on the phone to Kodak, just being like, please, and that, you know, and they do like such an amazing job of saving it. Each time they've done like, oh God, I just like really owe them something. So they, but yeah, that moment is over. So, but I think even still, even with the stuff that goes wrong, I really, really like working on film. I don't know whether I can sum all of why I love it up into one. But yeah, like the accents, and I like working with the restriction of it as well. I mean, on Sudden Light, it was a bit too much of a restriction because we had like literally no film at all. And so, yeah, we were only able to shoot things like 3 times, whether that be 3 takes or 3 different setups. So we'd have to choose, do we want to do this in one take, in one shot, and do it with 3 takes, or do we choose 3 different, that was, but I just think that I just love looking through the rushes when I get them back from the lab. I just think it's magical. So yes, that's my, but I also do feel like, because I know also because it can be more, it is more expensive. So you have to, if you're making it work within a budget, it does. I don't know. I mean, with Sudden Light, it was much easier because we just have absolutely no lights, so we don't need to worry about that. And then it's just, and then the argument for film can feel stronger. But yeah, I am aware it's like, but it's quite good, isn't it? So
that's a great answer. Thank you. It just makes me so much more excited to learn about like making films, using film.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, it's so fun.
Yeah, can't wait.
Good. It's really also because like I think so I've got, because I learned how to shoot like a little 16mm camera.
Yeah.
Like myself, like a small one myself, was just taking daylight spools. And yeah, when I first started making stuff, I would shoot on that, and like, and I learned how to hand develop stuff as well. But I mean, that my hand developing skills are not good, so it always come out really, really bad. But like, I think learning to work on film is a really good editing thing as well. If you can do something yourself, because when I first started making stuff, shooting on film, just myself, there's a minimum amount of film that Cinelab or Kodak will actually process. So I would just get the minimum amount of film. I mean, no, sorry. Yeah, there's a minute. Wait, how's that phrased the right way? As in, you have to do a certain amount for them to even justify turning on the baths. And so I'd be like, oh God, okay, I have to buy 4 daylight spools. Like, oh God, I really just, because it's expensive. And I was like, I could have just done it on 1, but I need to do 4. But then you're working with like a small amount, and you just start cutting in camera. Like you really make everything count, and learning to work with that economy is quite a good, yeah, you're like, okay, I've got 10 minutes. I don't have space to keep shooting. I'm going to make everything work. And then also just different things that you can do, little flash frames where someone is there and then they disappear. Like cutting in camera is such a cool technique, and you can do really interesting stuff with it. So I think it can be a different craft in itself, and it's quite a cool way I think it's a cool exercise for yourself. I think it's a cool thing. It's like there are competitions like Straight 8 and things like that. Again, it's like making a film with 1 Super 8 cartridge. I think it's a whole different way of working. It's really, I'm into
it. So has your experience as a female in the film industry always been a positive one?
Yes. No. I would say there's definitely a turning point. For me, that was a turning point when I recognized that the things I thought were flaws, usually associated with being a woman, can be strengths. So that's what I was saying. Yeah, I think sometimes things that you associate as very female traits that you think of as like bad can be, there might be a different way of doing things. Doesn't mean they're the wrong way of doing things. You can be a conscientious person and be a good director. Those can be good things. So yeah. What have you felt that? Have you felt it?
I mean, with my experience so far, I've only recently come into it this year. So, but I've definitely felt, okay within myself. So, I've had a few people say, be careful, like, don't go too big, keep it small, keep it local.
Really?
But then I don't listen to them.
Yes, we spoke about this.
I do my own thing, and I got actors from London way, and my DOP was from Southampton, so I did not keep it local, but that was by far the best choice. I'm glad that I listened to myself in that moment. So
yeah. I mean, to be fair, I feel like having been a director, I haven't hit upon. It's more when I first started out and I was like running on set. That was when I was like, oh yeah. I mean, I think there are like a lot of, I've heard of a lot of stories that have happened to friends of mine of different things that have happened. And also there are things that have happened, but I don't really want to name them for fit, but like, I think you can get treated differently, definitely. And but I also sometimes find that hard to know whether, you can. There's a different tone that's sometimes used for you, or a sort of like, don't worry, calm down kind of tone. But not if you're working with good people.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's always good to have a really good team around you, really good people you can trust. So
yeah. One of my HODs did say he noticed, well, he's a guy, but he was talking about, I think it was he worked on both of my films, but he was saying you really notice the energy when it's mainly female HODs, which is and he was like, you really notice how everyone is, it's not like a clashing together of egos. And obviously and I think he acknowledged at the time, also I shouldn't be paraphrasing him because I can't remember exactly what was said, it was a long time ago. But yeah, it's that this is a generalization, but sometimes that can be like a clashing of egos when it's guys, whereas when it's girls, it's everyone is just focused on doing the best thing for the project. And obviously that's a massive generalization and it's not true across the board. Sometimes that happens, I don't know.
So being from Somerset, has this had any influence on you as a director?
Yes, because I film everything in the Southwest. Yeah, I think so. I think I really love landscapes that live and breathe and are characters in themselves. And I think that's a big thing from having grown up in the middle of nowhere and being surrounded by these beautiful landscapes. And I also think I'm very open to the paranormal, and I'm from Glastonbury, so that makes Glastonbury is the nearest town, so that's probably got something to do with that. And I think Somerset is quite a slippery in between space with the levels. I think the levels and Glastonbury in that area have really got quite a big stamp on the work that I make.
Okay, great. And then the last question is, what does the next year look like for you?
A lot of writing, which I'm very, very excited about. Hopefully, you can't see. A lot of writing.
Cool.
Yeah. Yes. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I haven't. Oh, I just saw.
I think there's a question in the chat.
Yeah. How do you make connections to get contacts to hire, meet crew members? Should I read out the question just to be? I'll read out.
Yeah, maybe read the question out loud.
Yeah. So, as a director, how do you make connections to get contacts to hire / meet crew members or actors for a film you would like to direct? So it's a mix, really. There's lots of different ways, different people I've met through different things. So various people I've met through previous projects, and then some people also, like particularly in terms of composers, it's people who tend to be friends of mine, whose music I really love and whose music I'll listen to at the beginning of writing, or reaching out to people as well, like reaching out with actors. I've only worked with actors who I've reached out to, whether that be via an audition or an offer. And crew, it really depends. Like, I think when you meet someone and you work well with them, you can, I don't know, you hold on to that, and then, or you, I don't know, it is good to branch out and try and work with different, even if you do work really, really well with someone, sometimes it's good to open that up to working with other people. I'm not sure. I hope that's answered your question. I don't know. There are so many different ways. I know that I was also part of the BAFTA crew, and I know that a lot of people met other people through that. I think peer stuff is really great. Friends of friends. All of those. That's fine.
Was that the only question there?
Yes, that's the only question.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I think that's all of my questions I've got. But I've really enjoyed this evening. It's been so fun. But yeah, I just can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you, and I can't wait to see yours as well. And good luck with everything. I'm sure we'll keep it well. We'll talk after this anyway. So but yeah. No, thank you so much. It's been such a lovely evening. So cool.
I mean, I just want to say a massive thank you to both Sophie and Grace. I think that was such a rich discussion. There's so much in there, and directing is such a big role. And I loved, there was a bit about working with actors and working with and actually shooting and finding the stories. So I think it was really, really fun and really, really useful to hear from both of you. And thank you so much for sharing your experiences with everyone watching. The only thing left from me to say before I let you all go off and have the dinner that I'm sure you're waiting for is, please do make sure you stay up to date with everything else we've got coming up, our website and social media, in the comments on YouTube. And if you've been watching this event, we've also put a link to a feedback form in the comments. That's completely anonymous. It just helps us know what you want to see from us, what you liked, and just make sure that we can put on events and opportunities that are the most useful for young filmmakers in the Southwest. But that's it from me. Just another massive thank you to both Sophie and Grace, and enjoy your evenings, everyone. See you soon.
Thank you.
Okay.